Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my breastfeeding experience. So I am still breastfeeding, but I want to talk about specifically the beginning. So breastfeeding is something that is so unspoken of when you're pregnant, that they warn you about your contractions, your labor, all of that, but then they don't warn you about the breastfeeding, and they should, because it's not easy. So I want to, give you guys some advice, some motivation, some inspiration, I don't know. But I want to start off by saying that just because you can't breastfeed doesn't mean anything. As long as your baby is healthy, as long as your baby is fed and growing, that's all that matters. So when my baby was born, she latched on very well. I never really had a latching problem. However, my nipples were so painful the first almost month, I would say, maybe 3 weeks. So initially, because I wasn't new to all of this, I just thought I was doing something wrong, and I was asking the nurses at the hospital, is this what it's supposed to be like? And they were like, yeah, it looks like you're doing fine, it looks like you're doing fine. And I still kind of doubted them, what they were saying. I felt like I needed to see a lactation consultant. I felt like I needed someone to really look and make sure that everything was okay. And I never saw a lactation consultant or anything. I never really I just kind of stuck it out and hoped for the best, which I don't recommend doing. I think I just got lucky in that things did work out. So I breastfed her in the hospital, and then when I came home, I breastfed her, and my milk came in around day 5 or 6, and that's when I would say I really started officially breastfeeding her, and she was drinking milk, and I could kind of tell at that point if she was drinking milk or not. When in the beginning, when my milk wasn't there, I just assumed she was. I wasn't sure because I couldn't feel my letdown. There was no signs of that. So yeah, once my milk came in and she was feeding, it started to hurt so badly, and I'm not sure exactly what the pain was, because the pain would happen the first 2 or 3 minutes that she was feeding, and then it would just go away. So I think it was the letdown that was hurting so much. My nipples were sore, they were cracked, they were bleeding, scabby almost, and I used nipple cream, and the pain was not the physical nipple pain. It was inside my boob that just hurt and burned, and I would be crying and tearing up as she was feeding, and I remember I was grabbing onto pillows, crying, and she would be feeding, and I was like, oh my god, this hurts so bad. And I wanted to quit so badly. I did not expect it to be this bad, and I told myself if this doesn't get better, I'm not gonna be able to do this. It was more painful than giving birth. So I don't know if that's normal, but it did go away after a few weeks. However, with that being said, the entire time that I was in this pain and I wanted to give up, I told myself, just do it for 1 month. Just do it for 1 month. Stick it out for 1 month. If it doesn't get better by 1 month, you did what you did. You did what you could, and that's the best you can do. So I kept telling myself that, and it wasn't getting better until 3 weeks, and then it slowly did start to get better. So what I would do actually for overnight is I would pump bottles so that I could feed her, and in the daytime when I had more energy, I would focus on feeding her and dealing with the pain, I guess. And then at nighttime, because I just I didn't want to be in pain when I was tired, and so I would bottle feed her my pumped milk at night. And at this time, pumping hurt just as much as feeding, but the pumping was faster, and I could control when it was happening versus feeding is on demand. So I also recommend doing that if you are a parent whose baby takes very long to eat. It can be tiring to hold your baby and to your breast, and someone else could also help you if you have a bottle. So breast milk can stay out, if it's fresh, for a few hours. So pump, and then that especially when your baby's a newborn, they're gonna eat every 2 to 3 hours anyway, so it should be fine. I highly recommend that. So getting back to the breastfeeding, I just dealt with the pain for a few weeks, and then it just like slowly went away. And I don't even remember, like it wasn't like an instant thing. I just like remember one time saying like, hey, it doesn't really hurt anymore. And it was a little before she turned 1 month. And then since then it has been really easy, and she's been latching perfectly, and we have both gotten the hang of it. However, I will say now that she is almost 4 months and so much more aware and so much more like alert, when I'm breastfeeding her in the daytime, she likes to like look around, she likes to grab things. She's always like pulling my necklace, pulling my hair, my shirt, my bra, whatever it is that's there. So it can be kind of hard to feed her and get her to eat because she's so distracted that like she doesn't even realize what's going on. She's turning her head around. I try to like get her on the breast, and she's just like doesn't want anything to do with it, even though I know that she's hungry, and I know that once she latches on, she'll realize like, oh, this is, you know, milk, and then she will start eating. So sometimes especially when she's like fussy and she's just like looking around and she's like not latching, what I actually do is like I like hover on top of her. It sounds so weird, and like it's probably not that safe either, but I'm aware that it isn't safe and that like things could happen, so I make sure to be really, really careful when I'm doing this. Wow. Okay, so anyways, I make sure to be really, really careful when I'm doing this. So I like hover on top of her, and I do not by any means like push my breast on her and suffocate her. I like touch the top of her lip with it, and then I like let her start sucking, and then once I know that she is sucking, I will like relax and go let her suck. And then once she starts drinking and she's like, she understands what's going on, is when I can pick her up and then I can breastfeed her normally. So if you are having that problem where your baby is just like so fussy and you don't know why, and like you know that it's time for them to eat, you know that they're probably hungry, but they just need to like calm down and realize like this is the breast, maybe try that. And trust me, it's a serious arm workout, so you're basically doing like a plank on your baby. But of course, be careful with everything. Yeah, so right now I have been breastfeeding. She hasn't really had any pumped milk. I gave it to her once. She kind of like threw up. I had from the hospital like overnight when I wasn't able to see her. They gave her breast milk at that time too. But other than that, she's never really had breast milk. I mean, wow, I meant formula for all of that. She's never really had formula. And I kind of do wish that she took to both just in case. And I'm sure if something were to happen and she were to need formula, as long as we consistently gave it to her, eventually she would eat it. So I'm not too worried about that. She also takes the bottles and pacifiers and my boob. And I have given her a pacifier. I tried not to give her the pacifier for the first month, but it was just so difficult because she was using me as like a human pacifier sometimes in the beginning to like go to sleep and just to self-soothe, or I guess not self-soothe, but to soothe. So I did give her the pacifier. I didn't give it to her as much. I gave it to her when she was crying, when I was changing her diaper, things like that. And then eventually I just gave in and I gave her the pacifier, and I never had a problem with it. So she's always had a pacifier. Bottles too, I never really had issues. I initially used Komotomo. My favorite bottle is the Boon bottle. I will say it is a little like stiff on the nipple area, like the nipple part, but I love it. It's similar to the Komotomo, but I think, in my personal opinion, I love it way better. I've tried Dr. Brown, Avent, all the bottles, and they were fine. Tommy Tippy is like my lesser preferred one, but I know some people love it, and I think it's really important to know your nipple style or whatever, and like get a bottle that is similar to your nipple. You know, you don't want to get a bottle where the nipple is huge if you have a tiny nipple, and vice versa. So that's something to keep in mind. Just because it works for a ton of people doesn't mean that it's going to work for you, because you might have a different nipple shape, and that might be where your baby starts to have problems latching, because the bottle nipple is so different from your nipple. So yeah, I think that is all. But I just wanted to say, breastfeeding is not easy. It is super difficult, especially if you plan on exclusively breastfeeding, because that means that you have to be up, you know, no one can really breastfeed your baby but you. So it gets really, really tiring. It's emotionally exhausting, it's physically exhausting. you just also had a baby, your hormones are also still regulating. So, you know, it's hard. And whether you breastfed your baby for an hour, for one time, for the whole first year or second year, what's important is that, you know, you're doing your best and you're trying as a parent to, you know, feed your baby and give your baby nutrition. And if breast milk isn't what's working for you guys, you know, you have to do what you have to do. And I think a lot of people that are very judgmental about formula versus breast milk don't always realize that sometimes breastfeeding your baby just isn't in the cards. Some people don't produce breast milk, some people have issues latching and things like that. So as long as your baby is fed, that is what is important. And also, to take care of a baby and have a healthy baby means that there has to be a healthy mommy, right? So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I should do like more of ooh, she's waking up. I should do more videos on breastfeeding because I definitely want to keep doing this and see how long I can go with it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching again for like the third time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.